Chapter 3. Fear, pain, pleading, begging, all and more contained within a sound without words. The only sound a child so young was capable of making in such a situation, as panic, blinding and absolute, took over. It was a call, desperate and confused. Sam answered, as she always had with her cousins. It felt no different in this situation. Her arms wrapped around the small, shaking metal body and pulled it up and against her chest. At first, the child struggled. Not understanding and believing it was in further danger, it tried to push away from her. But after only a few seconds of Sam shushing it gently and murmuring soft reassurances, it faded to small sobs and whimpers and completely curled against the woman. It tightened its fingers tightly around the top edge of Sam's neck armor, as if afraid to let go. It was a strange sensation, but not painful. The fear was palpable, thick and permanent feeling. She had to get the baby away from here, had to put distance between them and the corpses. Letting out a deep, shuddering breath, Sam drew away. She took 2 slow, hesitant steps back before twisting sharply and jogging out of the building, turning her back on the corpses within. But merely leaving the scene didn't remove the danger. The child's howling and wailing had served as a sort of beacon for the warmongers. The ones, Sam believed, who were responsible for what had happened here. Sam had just stepped out into the shadowed street, now limping more heavily thanks to the added weight, when she found herself stopping short. She could feel her eyes tightening, as if she had been staring at a computer screen all night. Everything sharpened, her eyesight refocused. Her chest tightened, and her heart, or whatever had taken its place, squeezed tightly before fluttering in a panic. Something was wrong. But what? Back and forth she spun round, trying to figure out what the hell was causing her anxiety, but found nothing. Nothing to indicate that her paranoia was valid. Taking another deep breath, Sam turned back to the street, deciding it was best to just try and get away as fast as possible instead, but came face to face with 3 metallic beings. They looked exactly like the corpses that littered the streets, minus the being dead bit. Alien, unfamiliar, dangerous. The child in her arms let out a tiny sob and tucked itself tighter against her plating. In response, the metal scale-like plates that made up her back and shoulders flared out, almost like fur. A distressed feeling shot through her chest. Who were these people? Were they even people? You're not a very smart one, are you? Not even bothering to hide that spark signature of yours. Or maybe you're just cocky. They all looked a bit insect-like, almost. Or maybe plane-like? The wings were jutting out from their backs. It was strange looking. What's more, when they spoke, it didn't sound like English. Its edges were tilted, that was the best way she could think to describe it, and the consistency of the words was filled with clicks, chirps, beeps, and grinding noises, and other bits and pieces she was certain weren't possible for normal vocal cords. And yet Sam understood. How? But the one in the center, to the right of the one that had spoken, stepped forward, and Sam decided that was the least of her worries right this moment. She could question such things later. Right now it was imperative she got her new priceless cargo to safety. Pronto. Grimacing, Sam took a quick dancing step to the side and backward, trying to get away from the building while also putting distance between herself, the child, and them. What a glitch. The one that had stepped forward scoffed, matching her movement and keeping the distance between them the same. What's that you got there, huh? The other 2 followed suit slowly, flanking their leader. This was not good. Nothing. The word fell from Sam's mouth without asking. That same whistling, clicking set of noises they kept making. Yet it made perfect sense. She danced backward again, her injuries protesting loudly against the movement. It wouldn't be much longer before her body gave out. Sam could feel it. A low, burning, agonizing sensation. Her pulse quickened fearfully. What was she going to do? They closed the distance slightly. taking 2 rapid steps forward apiece. No. No, 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 no! Twisting rapidly on the balls of her feet, Sam took off at the quickest pace she could manage. The clanging noise of her feet made as they smacked against the metal ground echoed down the street, bouncing off the ruined buildings. It was accompanied closely by the sound of the 3 aliens laughing wildly behind her. This was a sport for them. Just where the hell had she landed? This was seeming less and less like a bad dream and more like some fucked up, twisted alternate dimension. There was no way Sam could have made this up. She didn't think it was possible. They were getting closer. She could hear them, jeering. But they weren't running? Sam couldn't hear their footsteps. She snagged a quick peek over her shoulder. Flying! They were flying? What kind of hokey-pokey bullshit was that? Cursing angrily under her breath, Sam refocused in front of herself and tried to push her limping pace a little faster. Her injuries protested ever louder. They cackled wildly. Away. She had to get away. If they caught them, they would be as good as dead, right? So she had to go faster. Her leg gave out. Practically dragging it behind herself, Sam urged her body on. The cruel aliens behind her kept their distance, just beyond her shoulder. No doubt they were just waiting for her body to completely give out, dragging the sport on for as long as they could. Opie, look. Help! The tiny form in her arms sobbed, too weak from screaming earlier to do so now. No. It wouldn't just be Sam that would be dead if they caught them, or her body gave out. She had already realized that, but it hadn't fully clicked. Sam could almost see it. A tiny twisted corpse among the larger ones. A life ended before it had even fully begun. The child's hands raised in the air, perhaps in surrender or in a plea. Her stomach twisted painfully, threatening to be ill not for the first time that day. Ah, hell no. Teeth grinding together, Sam began throwing her body harder against the injuries, practically jumping to make more distance. But it didn't seem to make any difference. They just increased speed, keeping up easily. Frustration and anger mounted. These assholes. These motherfucking pieces of shit. No, this was not going to end like this. Not this way. Breaths coming out in sharp, desperate heaves, Sam put everything she had into throwing her body, pushing her leg harder. Then, when she felt as though everything was lost and that they were both going to die there, everything shifted. A heat unlike any other began building up in her heels. Sam didn't notice it at first, then she dismissed it as her feet getting sore, like when she would walk too much. But it wasn't painful. It wasn't a soreness, just a pleasant warmth, like snuggling under the blankets on a cold winter day. It continued to build up, until at last it exploded, literally. Fire burst from Sam's heels, drawing a screech from her. She kicked her feet with a sense of panic, something on her back flailing like an extra pair of arms. But she didn't have too much time to panic over it and wonder what the hell was going on. One moment she was on the ground, limping rapidly away from her pursuers, and the next she was in the sky with them. Slag! She's got more left in her than we thought! Catch her! Fuck off! Screeching, panicking, relying more on instinct than anything else, Sam dipped one of the appendages on her back and went slicing through the air seamlessly. Give up now and we'll bring you to Lord Megatron! Were they bargaining now? Sam didn't know who this Lord Megatron was, but that did not sound like a friendly name, and anyone who had these kinds of goons working for them was not someone she wanted or cared to meet. Agony pierced through Sam's back and along the set of super-sensitive limbs along her back. Clenching her teeth together, she tucked herself up around the child and twisted between a set of buildings, trying to lose her pursuers. She couldn't outfly them for long. She didn't have the strength, so she would have to try to outmaneuver them before then. Sam was on a time limit. Just give in, fraggot! One of the 3 cursed angrily. We'll make your offlining quick! Offlining. Sam supposed that had to mean death. She grimaced. Bargaining was out the window, now they had simply moved on to threats. Becoming more desperate now, already nearing the end of her strength, Sam zipped out from a set of 2 buildings and found herself out in the open. Fuck. There was a sense of terror, of panic. There were no more buildings to hide behind, nothing. Below her, there wasn't any ground, just a very deep pit. Soft glowing blue light twinkled from below. It reminded her of the Grand Canyon, only far more beautiful and eerie. Not to mention alien. And then her fire went out. There was a weightless, sickening sensation. Her stomach flopped and Sam kicked her legs in a panic, but there was nothing to catch her. A scream pealed from her mouth as she fell at an alarming speed. Down, down, down. They landed silently along the edge of the cliff. That was unexpected. What now? One looked to his leader. Leave them. They've fallen into the sea of light. Nothing but the well of all sparks awaits. Their leader waved a hand, turning away listlessly. She must have been really desperate. The last chuckled, grinning down into the sparkling blue light below. Come, we have a mission. The leader took off into the sky again. Yeah, playtime's over, got it. The other 2 took flight after him, leaving behind nothing but silence and emptiness. Sam held her breath, her arm aching painfully. She had fallen quite a ways, screaming, before managing to catch herself on an outcropping of metal some ways down the cliff. It seemed she had been far enough inward that they hadn't seen her, or they had simply not bothered to look too closely. But now she was holding on with one hand, while the other continued to clutch the tiny child to her chest. The hardest part was still to come. All right, hon. We're gonna do this nice and slow, okay? Work with me. Taking a slow, deep breath, Sam nudged the child's head with her chin affectionately, before starting to push it onto the smaller ledge and pulling herself up. This was going to be a long climb.